Welcome to the Twist News. I'm Erika Grey. The CIA chief and defense intelligence heads testified before a Senate committee. And I'm going to play you a clip of the testimony that was broadcast on Crux. Because in part of the testimony that dealt with Russia, it sounded like gaslighting. Now, gaslighting is when somebody commits something, you confront them about it, and they basically put it back on you like it's what you did. And when you listen to this intelligence individual speak about Russia, this is what you hear.
I recently finished a book about the KGB. The KGB is a essentially paranoid organization. They believe that the West is out to get them. And Putin came out of...
Whoa! They believe the West is out to get them? How about the United States thinks that Russia's out to get the West? How about that? And this is as Vladimir Putin was handing out olive branches. That whole Senate report from 2016 is a sham. I don't even know where it began with. Nitpicking various aspects of Russian society and finding an enemy when there was no enemy.
They believe that the West is out to get them. And Putin came out of the KGB. How do we convince Putin that NATO is not an aggressive entity? We don't want to invade Russia. Nobody wants to invade Russia. We just want to protect the borders of Europe as they have existed since World War II. Do you agree with me that Putin really believes that NATO is winding up to somehow invade or otherwise violate the sovereignty of Russia?
Yes, I do agree with you that there's a certain paranoia associated with this, and there is, as I indicated in my opening remarks, Putin really does believe that the security of his country is at risk on some level. It is, I think, a question, actually, I wish Director Burns were here for, how could you convince him psychologically that, in fact, NATO is not? Because, in so many respects, the actions that NATO has taken has actually been intended to reassure, and at the same time, it has not landed. And in many ways, what Putin has done has precipitated so many events that he was seeking to avoid. I mean, he obviously did not want to see NATO enlarge, and yet his invasion of Ukraine precipitated, Finland and Sweden joining, something that never would have happened, frankly, or we certainly would not have assessed that as being likely on the timeline that it occurred before the invasion.
You've only had NATO expand since the Cold War, take in 14 more members, expand its borders, get closer to Russia. And when she stated the actions on the part of NATO were to let Russia know that NATO was not a threat, what part of that doesn't look like a threat? And then when you have border countries of Russia, such as Ukraine and Georgia, voicing they're going to join NATO, and they're right on the border, and there's no longer a Cold War, and Russia now has a stock exchange and is working towards market economy. Like, what part of NATO's actions being a threat does the United States not get? This is gaslighting. This is exactly what it is. And then they stated it's to protect borders. Well, who the hell is the United States to go around and protect everybody's borders? And who invited the United States in Ukraine to do that? Of course, after we launched a puppet government and the Maidan rallies and everything else, and Zelensky was thrown some loot to take the U.S. stance, this Senate hearing is ridiculous. The United States actions are provocative, and we had no business in Ukraine. None at all. Their statements on Russia are absurd. It sounds like gaslighting, and we've done nothing but poke the Russian bear. We're protecting borders. Who invited us to protect borders? Since when is that our role? Protect borders. We can't even protect our own borders. We've got serious street gangs coming in, like the Venezuelan gangs and MS-13, that are coming in to the United States. We can't even protect our own borders. Maybe that's where we need to be, is protecting our own borders. Instead of playing this pseudo-policeman of the world, which is bull, and gaslighting nations for our own crackerjack foreign policy, which has done nothing but escalate prices in the United States. Our recent crackerjack policy of funding Ukraine and sending so much money into Ukraine. And now we've got horrific inflation that's continuing to go up because we just can't stay out of conflicts. And we rather enjoy poking the Russian bear. And paranoid? He wants to call the KGB paranoid? The CIA right now and the FBI are censoring Americans. Paranoid? Talking about the Russian threat that doesn't exist? Russian expansion beyond Ukraine, which isn't going to happen? You want to talk about paranoid? And now there's an issue, another issue where the United States just shot itself in the foot? Now we've just banned Russian uranium, and we get a good deal of uranium from Russia. So again, we're going to have an increase in prices, more of our boomerang foreign policy, boomerang sanctions that come back on us, boomerang foreign policy that only ends up hurting Americans because we have a bunch of buffoons down in Washington, like the one that spoke. I can't even believe I'm listening to it. It's pure fiction. Well, hope you found this informative today. Hope you are also a bit outraged because you look at the evidence and NATO has expanded. And you look at U.S. foreign policy and you're there scratching your head wondering, what are they doing? So for more, hit the subscribe button. Definitely stay tuned. Check out our Amazon store. I've got all kinds of books from our guests and also some interesting products from around the world, from the different countries that the Twist has visited or also reported on. And for more, stay tuned.
Запах, когда папа в будке, ради бабы ланти, шутки.